Honorable members, allow me to propose the question that the Parliamentary Pensions Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2023, be read a second time. Yes. Majority Leader, you want to contribute?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. And allow me, Honorable Speaker, first to thank the Honorable Limuru on moving this bill. And also, in absentia, to also thank the Governor for Taita Taveta, the Honorable Mwadime, who was the original sponsor of this bill in the last Parliament. And it is good that Honorable Limuru, and also for your indulgence, Honorable Speaker, allowing us to move to order number 13 so that we don't lose this bill again. And it's a very important bill, Honorable Speaker. And I don't belabor what has already been said, but just to point out a few things. I was worried when I heard the Honorable Limuru talk about contributions by government for a year to take care of former members of Parliament on their medical expenses, and I was wondering where he found that in the bill, but he just informed me it was just something he was saying that we should add on, and maybe I thought I should start from there. One, Honorable Speaker, just to inform the House that part of, without anticipating debate, Honorable Speaker, with your indulgence, part of the laws that are before this House due for second reading is a tax procedures bill that has a provision that is making post-retirement medical contributions of up to 20,000 shillings, down from 10,000 shillings, tax deductible. That means when you are serving as a member of Parliament, or any Kenyan who is in employment today, if you want to contribute to your post-retirement medical scheme, you are allowed to contribute up to 20,000 shillings per month. That's a total of 240,000 shillings a year, tax-free, without being taxed, and it becomes a tax-deductible expense. Therefore, that is to encourage us that when we are in active service, let us contribute to post-retirement medical schemes, because they will come in handy. We do not need to ever go back to public coffers to pay for people who are in retirement. And I know Honorable Limuru, being in the same profession with me, is getting it from the private sector, although he worked in the public sector, that in the private sector there are many companies that pay for their staff a post-retirement medical cover for at least a year for you to get naturalized to the world out there. But it's different for us as public officers, because this money will have to be paid by taxpayers, and therefore I just want to say I would not have agreed to that if it were in the bill, but when I perused through the bill I discovered it's not there. And it's good to make that clear so that people out there do not misconstrue the intentions of this bill. Because when the public listens to anything they hear parliamentary, especially now when you talk about parliamentary pension scheme, they imagine it is more money that you are contributing, or members of Parliament are getting more money. I was just checking my last pay slip, Honorable Speaker, and discovered every single month I contribute 59,328.50 cents to the parliamentary pension scheme. And this is money that is deducted from my salary over and above the NSSF contributions. Because again, there is a misconception that we pass laws here that don't affect us. But we pass laws that also affect us because we know better. We know beyond the term of active service, you will need it to be taken care of, Honorable Speaker. Today, millions of our elderly people above the age of 65 are under cash transfer programs, including former members of Parliament. And the Honorable Undo has said, there are those that we see around here. But there are many others who are benefiting from the 2,500 shillings of the cash transfer program. But if they had a good pension scheme, they don't need to go back to public coffers to get cash transfer programs. And that is the essence even of NSSF, enhancing contributions. Because why we are having a society where everybody is dependent on public coffers is because you worked for 30 years, contributing 200 shillings a month. At the end of your 30 years of service, you have only saved 144,000 shillings. If you are given that money at the end of your term, active service, at the age of 60 or 55, within a few months, 144,000, you have wiped it out. or you are getting pension of about 2,000-3,000 shillings that cannot even take care of your medical expenses. Therefore, just for the record, Honorable Speaker, that this bill is coming at a very good time. And two, to tell the public, especially our fourth estate, because you will see that what they will report tomorrow in newspapers, and MPs increase their pensions, MPs increase their pay. This is money we are contributing from what we are already being paid. Two, Honorable Speaker, this bill aligns, as the mover said, with the 2010 Constitution, especially in roping in the Senate, those issues you've heard about widows and widowers. I don't know whether it is the law that never envisaged that there will be widowers, or never envisaged members of parliament being female. I don't know whether it also envisaged whether there will be members of parliament who will be single ladies who are not married, or who have divorced or separated from their husbands. And it's also good to encourage them, such men and women who have divorced or separated from their husbands, to designate somebody. And I am not naming names, but I am sure there is somebody who is listening to me. You can designate even a colleague to take care of your children when you are not there. But also to encourage all of us to continue contributing. Honorable Speaker, the mover also did touch on the question of this making the pension, our pension scheme, elective after you serve your first term. And it's good for those of us who are serving our first term to know you get your gratuity at the end of 5 years. If you do not make it to come back for a second term, that is all you get, and you don't benefit from a pension. If you ever come back, as a mover said, you can elect to contribute the gratuity that you are paid back and continue saving for your pension, so that after your second term, you continue to benefit from pension. This gratuity is very enticing, Honorable Speaker, but those who have left this house will tell you, within a few months, because you choose to continue living the way you are living as a member of parliament, within a few weeks, it is gone. And those members are left very desolate. Now we have an opportunity, and I would encourage even those who lose elections, please don't take up your gratuity if you intend to come back. Keep it with the pension scheme, and I liked something that the Honorable Chokonga has shared with me here, that probably, and I would encourage the move of this motion, this bill, we need to move this pension, the parliamentary pension scheme, we move an amendment to keep it in parliament, so that the administration of the parliamentary pension scheme is administered in parliament by the Parliamentary Service Commission. And Honorable Chepkonga is a former commissioner of the Parliamentary Service Commission. He can guide, and I would encourage him to bring amendments to make sure that this pension scheme is administered by the Parliamentary Service Commission, because they will relate better to the struggles and the needs of members of parliament than those in the National Treasury. When you live and you are old and elderly, you will find your children now are the ones in the National Treasury. Honorable Kwenya, they will not care who you are. Some will be your grandchildren. They will just be asking this old mzee, and they don't know how much you struggle to improve the lot of the people of Kinangop, and Kenyans at large, including them. But members of parliament who will be in this house, serving in the Parliamentary Service Commission, will be able to relate better with the struggles of a member of parliament. I therefore encourage the Honorable Chepkonga to liaise with the Honorable Mulu to have the administration of this pension being administered by the Parliamentary Service Commission, not the executive in the National Treasury. Because you will see the kind of distaste that even those in the executive have for former members of parliament. And those who pursue their pensions with the National Treasury will bear me witness as those who are former members of parliament. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, for young parliamentarians, increasingly, both in this house and in the other house in the Senate, younger members of parliament are being elected. The Honorable Toto, I think, was elected at 20-something, 24. Meaning even if she served for 3 terms, she will still be below 45 years. But she would be eligible to pension, and after 3 terms, she would have to wait for another 6 years to access her pension. Now, we are creating a provision where the Honorable Toto, after serving her 3 terms, can still access her pension below the age of 45, Honorable Speaker, which is a good thing because, as Honorable Makali Mulu said, you may fall ill or something may happen. You may even be faced with an accident that incapacitates you and you are not able to work, but you have pension that is being kept somewhere by an administrator of a pension scheme, and you cannot access it until you get to the age of 45. You may even die before getting to 45 and you leave your money being enjoyed by others, Honorable Speaker. And it's good, Honorable Speaker, to remind all of us. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, and I know many members of parliament are usually threatened by, especially around this time, you'll be told, and allow me to say it in Swahili, utatupata 2027. Utaenda nyumbani 2027. Yet you go home every day. I don't know if there's a member of parliament who doesn't go home every day. You go home every day. So nobody should threaten you that you will go home, because you go to your home. The question you should ask yourself when you are here, the day you are not serving as a member of parliament, how shall things be for you? So that you don't feel threatened by anybody, threatening you that you will go home. You will go home and continue living your life as you lived when you are a member of parliament. Take care of yourselves, take care of your pension, contribute even to NSSF if you can contribute more. You can elect to contribute more, because that is what will take care of you when you are home and you are not working. Because inevitably, you are growing old. A time will come when you even choose to retire. You don't have to be to go home because somebody threatened you or somebody decided you are no longer useful. You could also choose to retire. And when you choose, it is what you contributed to your pension that will take care of you, Honorable Speaker, beyond your active life. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support this bill, but to point out, for purposes of the media and those who propagate lies against this House, the parliamentary pension scheme is a contributory pension scheme where members of parliament contribute their money from their salaries. And like every other employee who is in a contributory pension scheme does, so do we. So nobody should start peddling rumors and propaganda out there that what you are doing is giving yourselves more money. There is not a single shilling from public coffers that is this bill, and Honorable Makali Mulu sits in the Budget and Appropriations Committee. He will tell you that this bill, when it was scrutinized for money bill effect, there is not a penny or a cent or a shilling of public coffers that will come from the public coffers to support this scheme. And indeed, that's why I support even the idea of having its administration in parliament and not in the executive, so that we take care of ourselves in old age and beyond our life in active service to the nation. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I beg to support.
The Honorable Nikal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Let me also start by congratulating Honorable Makali Mulu and the governor of Taita Taveta now. I think when we talk of pension, perhaps I understand it better than most. One, because of age. Two, because of my past experience in government. Madam Speaker, I also want to repeat that having looked at this bill, it is not more money for MPs. This bill is basically doing two things. It is harmonizing the pension scheme that is existing with the Constitution. That's actually the basic thing. And also linking it with the social protection policy of this government. And that is all. There's no more money that will come from anywhere in this. Madam Speakers have said, this bill is actually basically about the Constitution. One, our current Constitution, as the Bill of Rights, And a big part of the Bills of Rights is actually social protection. And the whole world, no country can grow and develop if it does not have a strong social protection program. And it is not only members of man, all vulnerable people need social protection. And all people who retire need social protection. Members of Parliament are actually a particular group. Madam Speaker, I've taken time to look at the lives of members of Parliament, politicians in general, at the time when they get in and at the time when they get out. Over 90% of them are socioeconomically worse off when they are leaving Parliament, when they have left Parliament, than when they came in. Madam Speaker, the process of getting in Parliament itself is expensive. But even more expensive is actually the process of maintaining that seat. The social responsibilities that goes with it, we all know it. The Arambes, the funerals, all the social responsibility. Madam Speaker, there is no person who is actually wealthy enough, if they go into Parliament, who cannot at the end of it actually be poor. Extremely rich, wealthy people have been in politics, and when they end, they are actually poor. We look at our colleagues who have been there and have retired, and Madam Speaker, most of them, over 90%, are not doing well. And these are people who are either professionals, be very serious and successful business people, or they were people in academics or in government who are doing well. What is it that makes them actually be unable to manage themselves after they leave this? It is the process of leadership as it is in the country today. So this bill actually aligns our pension scheme with the Constitution so that members of Parliament get the protection that is required. In social protection, I was in the ministry dealing with social protection. All people, I have just been informed that when we decided on 2,500, actually it was 2,000, on Honorable Mbadi when he was still here, actually made amendments to push it up to 2,500. We complained because we didn't have money. But today I'm told even members of Parliament are benefiting, which means I'm likely to benefit. So that social protection in our Bill of Rights, Chapter 4, is key in what is happening here. Madam Speaker, the other element is actually, in our Constitution, we have created a bicameral system which has two houses of Parliament, the Senate and the National Assembly. And what this bill does, Madam Speaker, is actually take care of that. One, in definitions. Two, in nomenclature. So that when you say Parliament, it must be sure you mean both the National Assembly and the Senate, which was not there before. So the old act didn't take care of that. And therefore, that is important. And when you go into the structures, all the structures, in terms of membership of all the structures, did not also take care of the fact that there are two houses of Parliament. So what this bill does is to take that into consideration, and so that membership can then include both houses of Parliament. Those are the basic issues in this bill. And therefore, the definitions are now important. When you say Parliament, now we know we mean two. When you say child, that I think has been talked about. When you talk of gratuity, loss of gratuity for pension, for victory after the first term, all those are actually, when you come of age, when you come of gender, Madam Speaker, all these are now just definitions that are arising from that. But when you come to gender, Madam Speaker, I think it was definitely a discrimination, actually not just against men, but against women as well. Because if the spouses of men are benefiting, why should the spouses of women benefit? I have had the opportunity to work at a time when at a district, when my wife was a district head and I was just a pediatrician, and so I was known as the husband of. Now, I also decided every time I must benefit. If spouses are going somewhere, I must go. So that was discriminatory. And then if you look at the issue of widows and widowers, again, that is discrimination. Why would it be that the spouses of members of parliament who are ladies, if they die, their spouses are not supported? Unfortunately, the truth is, men tend to die earlier than women in many cases. Even if you look at the Bible, there is a lot of support for widows. You don't read much about widowers in the Bible. But I think we now know better, and we should take care of that. So if you look at then the clauses, they actually take care of that. Death gratuity takes care of that, of the family, of all members, whether male or female. When you look at structures, clause 14 to clause 16, the pension committee, the membership must therefore change, because now we have two houses of parliament. So if the speaker is one side, the other speaker of the two houses must be there. So again, it is just structure. If you look at tribunal, again, the tribunal must take into consideration that there are two houses of parliament, so that the membership is also the same.
I thank you. You know, I have a lot of respect. I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 97, as read together with Standing Order 87. Madam Speaker, I respect the Honorable Nyikal, but seeing the interest in this bill, it affects all of us. If you see, everybody has locked in. If we were to take 10 minutes each, we will not be reached, Madam Speaker. And the reason why we have all come here is so that we can contribute and we can say something. Would I be in order, Madam Speaker, to request you to reduce our contribution time from 10 minutes to 5 minutes, so that each one of us can have an opportunity to say something with regard to this bill that affects all of us? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
In fact, I'll be proposing probably 3 minutes.
After.
Yes. Okay. 5 minutes. Okay.
Well, I'll also end a few minutes earlier in recognition of what my colleagues are saying. But Madam Speaker, I was just saying that it is just structures. Even if you look at the audit, it is the issue of structures. The last thing I'm saying is actually about the medical insurance scheme. This post-retirement process, actually, we must take it very seriously, because medical insurance, actually, if you go after 65, you can't get into a new medical insurance. So if we now start at this point, particularly we can link it with the current insurance, and so that post-retirement insurance for members of parliament are linked to this one. Together with that contribution, it may go a long way in helping us after we retire. With that, Madam Speaker, I support.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Gilgil, Martha Wangari.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. I also want to support the bill and actually note that it is a surprise that we did do this sooner, because after the promulgation of the Constitution, we should have already aligned it with the Constitution. But it has come at the right time. Allow me to pick just a few issues, because the issues have been canvassed. Number one, to the mover, there is an issue you have spoken about, retirement on medical grounds. I would like to confirm that it also includes people living with disabilities, those who join with disabilities, and also those who get disabled when they are serving. I say that because if you remember Honorable Denita Gati, the former Migori women rep, we joined with her in 11th Parliament. She was well, but in 12th Parliament, she was a PWD. So this provision on on Article number 9 should also include PWDs, so that if you want to retire on medical grounds, the PWD aspect is also considered a medical ground, so that if you get the disability when you're serving, or even when you join when you're serving, you have that leeway to be considered at that point. And I also want to agree, Madam Speaker, that the issue of widows and widowers has been discriminatory, and I have said it's because, first of all, it was not ensured that women could serve as members of parliament, but it is very important that both spouses are included. It's also true, as Honorable Nyikala said, that statistically, the men live shorter lives. They have a shorter lifespan, generally, than women. But it's also because men usually have a backup plan, Madam Speaker, and not many stay widowers. In fact, there are very few who stay widowers. The moment their wife dies, it doesn't take long. Within a year, and you look around, even bishops, every kind of men in this country, they won't finish a year, they'll have another wife. But we have so many widows that actually are left to watch their children until they're adults. So I think that was the relationship. But I think times have changed, and we are here, and widowers should be included as widows and given the same rights, Madam Speaker. It has also helped to reduce conflict in families, because when you write that person, when you are doing your paperwork, then all the others that have been canvassed by Honorable Chepkonga, and he said clearly, members of parliament have no mipango ya kandos, but if they happen to be there, then it will be easy to case that case out, Madam Speaker, because they will be the one on record as your spouse, and you'll save your family and save your children from embarrassment and from matters that can be avoided. Madam Speaker, there is the issue of post-retirement medical scheme, and I think we agree that after you leave parliament, normally when you're going for election, Madam Speaker, when you're just at the end, in fact, your supporters, even when they know you're going to lose, they will tell you to take a loan somewhere so that you finish this thing, and they know you're going nowhere. So when you lose, Madam Speaker, you lose, you have a loan, you have auctioneers on your door, and sometimes that's why you get members going for their gratuity, because they are desperate. So I think getting this option becomes very important on post-retirement medical scheme. You have a choice to contribute, and I think what Majority Leader has said is also very important, so that when you are able to, it is not so much to contribute 10,000, 20,000, so that at the end of your term, and all of us, Madam Speaker, I mean, the statistics that we've had is that the turnover of parliamentarians is 70%. You'll be very lucky to come back to this house. In fact, when you join this house, your chance of going home is about 70%. All of us are actually queued to go home. Only a few of us have been lucky to do 1-2 consecutive terms. So it is important that instead of begging, when you're out and begging your colleagues, trying to raise some small monies for small procedures in the hospital, you can be able to do that when you can. And this will help us a big deal, Madam Speaker, to give us an option to do that contribution. And when you are out there and you have issues of medical care, you will not have to call a harambe, because not many people will, first of all, contribute to a member of parliament. You cannot call a harambe in your backyard. It is not possible. You have to come to this house to beg people who understand what you're going through to contribute to you, Madam Speaker. It's the same thing when you lose, that even the traffic to your house just cuts off, Madam Speaker. So this will help us to cushion ourselves in terms of getting medical care, and it will go a long way to ensure that we are taken care of, and rightfully so, and not from the public coffers, Madam Speaker, but from own contribution that we make from our salaries, Madam Speaker. I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Kainan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is a very important bill, especially for those young, first-time members of Parliament. Madam Speaker, once upon a time, a one-time member of Parliament used to be pensionable. But in the year 2000, through this bill called the Omnibus Bill, the then Attorney General wrote a bill at the wee hours of the night. And I can assure you, by the time we passed, the following morning we all got our refunds, and the member of Parliament who was pensionable was just reduced to a member without pension. Madam Speaker, you also realize that we promulgated the current constitution in August 2010. This bill should have been one of the first bills actually to be passed, to be aligned with the constitution. What has happened? 13 years, 14 years, it's because of the fear of the unknown. Madam Speaker, when you become a member of Parliament, first of all, whether you have become a member of Parliament by design, or whether you have become a member of Parliament as a product of this test tube process, Madam, you become a leader. Outside there, the community, it's just like what we were debating yesterday. You are bashed, you are criticized, you lose your professional ethics, you lose everything that you have earned over the years as a professional before you join politics. Now, what remains in this difficult world of politics, Madam Speaker, is just like the other state officers. Ask yourself, why is the member of parliament, who is a state officer, treated differently by SRC, by Treasury, by anybody else, Madam Speaker? It's simply because members of parliament fear the world outside there. I want to ask you, when you are first elected, the assumption is you are the most powerful. The assumption is you are the most popular. The assumption is you are the most handsome. The assumption is you are the most beautiful. The assumption is you are everything. So when you come here, you lose all those identities. You live here minus your husband. You live here minus your wife. You live here minus your health. You live here minus your wealth. You live here minus your popularity. And I can tell you, by the time you exit there, you will be a pound, you will be a nobody. So you'll be regretting outside there and say, I wish I did this. I wish I did this. You have an opportunity. Don't fear. You are a state officer. You have the same constitutional entitlements like any other state officer pursuant to the current constitution. Why have you not passed this? I am a member of the committee, the finance committee, that will be bringing amendments. And I can assure you, we have put in place the best brains. I don't want to prejudice. We will give you the best product out of this. We are consulting the PSC, Parliamentary Service Commission. We are consulting the pension department. We are consulting the best brains within the parliamentary legal system so that we refine this bill in the next stage, including giving the member of parliament treatment that befits not only other state officers, but as an elected leader who has served one of the best institutions called the August House. When those amendments come in your share numbers and support it, because that will secure your life after this Augusta House. I always say, if you come to this place with the assumption that you are a potential former member of parliament, you will do well. But if you come here with the assumption that you have reached and you are everything, I can tell you, the term will be 5. So all of us are potential former members. So my definition as a serving member of parliament is I am a potential former member of parliament because the electorate tomorrow can ask you exit. So what is there for the outside? What is there for you in the outside world? Madam Speaker, we are solving some of the definitional problems. Definitional problems because the current, it's called the National Assembly Pension Act. But we have a bicameral house. It's has taken us 13 years to harmonize this. Isn't it a shame? Isn't it a shame, members, that we have taken 13 years to domesticate a bill that touches on none other than one of the 3 arms of government? It is. Why have we not done it? Because we fear. But time has come. It is today. The other bit, Madam Speaker, a critical thing, and I am glad that you have alluded to this, and I want to really ask for some few more minutes, is the issue of voluntary post-retirement benefit. I don't want to mention names, and my brother here, I think he has left. Some of the best brains. Thank you. By the time they left, Madam Speaker, the academic world outside there was not willing to accept them. They have lost the flair, the popularity to be a member of parliament. What has happened? A number of them are living in abject poverty in Kibera and many other places, Madam Speaker. We need to cure that so that the member of parliament does not only enjoy respect when you are serving member of parliament, but when you exit, you continue with the same respect. That is why this voluntary post-retirement benefit is so critical to the life and the well-being. And I like the way you have put it when you are contributing to the life and the well-being of not only the member of parliament, but to the family of the member of parliament, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that's a critical component in this particular bill. Madam Speaker, the other bill that we have cured, that we'll be attempting to cure, you have served 1 term. By the grace of God, your conscience or our conscience have asked you to exit. What, you came back, what happens? That bit must also be cured. The other bit that will be cleared through this bill is you have served 2 terms, you exited, you have gone with your pension, and then you are back for the 3rd term. What happens? That lacuna will also be cleared, this, so that there is either continuity or the benefit is defined. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, what I want to say is this. This bill will also be aligned with Article 127 of the Constitution, which forms the Parliamentary Service Commission, because the Parliamentary Service Commission is our trade union. So in conclusion, support this, and I can assure you, you will join the league of the other state officers. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Endebess.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Allow me to support this bill by the Honorable Makali Mulu, and also to thank the former member, the current governor for Taita Taveta, for having been the initiator of this bill, and Honorable Makali for making sure that we don't lose this bill. This is an important bill, Madam Speaker, and as you are aware, this House also passed the Parliamentary Service Commission Amendment Bill, in which one of the recommendations was that on Mother's Health, we should be able to have members who are either former members of the National Assembly or the Senate having a medical cover. And this can only be actualized through ensuring that when members leave this House, they can also join the group medical cover through individual contribution, and we can be able to determine that how much each member is able to pay so that he can be able to access medical cover outside there. On the same breath, Honorable Speaker, I also want to encourage members in this House that we have a gym facility in level 24. Please utilize it for your health. It also helps you to keep physically fit and avoid going to the hospital. So, and there are other facilities which are accessible within that place. Yes, a doctor's advice. You can also access reflexology there. You can access massage. There is also steam and other services. So these are all health benefits while you are here. And Honorable Speaker, looking at the bill, especially in issues to do with how pension management will be, it is stating that we shall contribute to the consolidated fund. I think now that we are thinking about bringing amendments, that section about contribution to the consolidated fund, when we go to the committee of the whole House, should be amended so that we can contribute to the pension scheme of the nation, of Parliament, so that we have a scheme that can be controlled within Parliament. Because when you people have retired and they go to, and it is being managed at Treasury, they are being tossed from one office to another. And it's actually very sad, very disheartening. Because when you look at people who have retired and they are following their pension, many of them come to us as honorable members to assist them. It's because they are feeling frustrated. It takes a long time for somebody to access his pension instead of being an automatic. I think with now that all the ministries are going to be digitized, it should be automatic transition so that when somebody retires or does not get another term for Parliament and is qualified to access pension, that pension should be automatic. You have no business following from one office to another, and then you are being told that your file is in this office, your file has not been seen, it is disappeared, until you cough some money so that your file can be found. I think it's a shame and embarrassing, and it's a fraud and corruption that should be done away with. As we fight against corruption, there are little corruptions, which looks like the way you are driving in a road and you find even a matatu which has no problem. The policeman needs to be given a kickback. So these kickbacks at the National Treasury for our retirees should be able to stop. And for us to make it more easier is for us to make sure that, because parliamentary staff, their pension is being managed in parliament through parliamentary scheme. Why should the honorable members go to treasury for their pension? I think these are important amendments that as a committee, when we go to the committee of the whole house, we should be able to do it. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Honorable Kangogo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the bill and also to congratulate my good friend, Dr. Makali, for bringing this bill. Madam Speaker, many of our former colleagues who are in this house before us, many of them, they are languishing out there, and they cannot even afford to go to hospital or afford a small medical cover. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Honorable Makali Molo and the former MP for Mathate, the current governor of Taita, because he initiated this bill. And Madam Speaker, this bill is going to help all of us who are in this house today and our colleagues who are going to come after us. Madam Speaker, we have seen many of our former members, they sometimes come here to see us, the current members of parliament, to help them in medical schemes here and there. And I'm happy that also part of this bill is to clean the current pension act and also to align it with the constitution. Madam Speaker, many a times, as such a bill, you will find that it is reported outside there. And this is something we need to caution the media and the people out there. Because sometimes a bill which touches members of parliament, you will find that the headline is tomorrow is members of parliament, they want to increase themselves billions of money in terms of pensions. We want to make it very clear, Madam Speaker, that the pension scheme and the pension act we are doing today, it is a contributory scheme from our own salaries, from our own payments. What we are only saying is that this scheme to be ministered or to be administered here by Parliamentary Service Commission. Because currently, as we contribute, it goes to the consolidated account or the consolidated fund. So it is not different, and there is no additional money that, you know, the exchequer or the treasury is going to add to Parliament. So that is number one. Number two, Honorable Speaker, members of Parliament, our work is completely different and unique from other civil servants. You will find that a member of Parliament, as young as we have some members who are here, you are serving after 5-year term or 2 terms. Those who are at their 20s now or at their 30s, even they are going to serve for 2 terms, they will be at 40 or 30 something. And now, if they cannot be re-elected again, Madam Speaker, this bill is going to heal the situation where a member who has served 2 terms and retire at 35 or at 40 is supposed to wait up to 60 years. And that member served very well in this house. When you retire at 40, you should be able to access your pension and move on with life. So, Madam Speaker, I really want to support this and ask our colleagues that let's support this bill. Madam Speaker, also, as I wind up, we need also to look into, which is not part of this bill, we have members of parliament here who have served 5 years, 5 terms, 4 terms, 3 terms. Madam Speaker, it should be, even the Parliamentary Service Commissioners, they should look into that issue, because you cannot have a member of parliament who have served 5 years, coming even the 6th term, and then is paid almost the same as member of parliament who has just come in the other day. You know, international labor laws, salaries are always upward trajectory. It should be, Madam Speaker, that me and you came 2013, our salary should be a bit higher by a certain percentage than those who are serving the first term. So that now, it's if you check at the mainstream civil service, every year they are getting some increment. Members of parliament who have served 5 terms should have, their salaries should be more than those of us who are serving the second term or the first term. With those many remarks, Madam Speaker, I want to support.
Thank you. Member for Dagoretti North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity, Madam Speaker, to support this bill. Madam Speaker, first I want to thank the Honorable Makalu. And I know I will tell you through an experience that we saw some of our members, Madam Speaker, when we left Senate after 2013. And we were able to see how they have struggled. And sometimes, yes, a member is given gratuity. But if we had this scheme, maybe the member would have been asked, do you need the gratuity, or do we put it into your scheme and you continue contributing even when you are outside there, especially on a health scheme? Madam Speaker, we have our former colleagues who had created a team, and that team was supporting each other to ensure they have paid money to NHIF for their medical health. And I will tell you today, now that NHIF has gone, I know our fellow members are now back to struggle on matters health. And so while we support this parliamentary pensions bill, one of the things we need to be asking ourselves that is very critical is that we have to.
What is out of order, Honorable Makau?
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've just heard the honorable member say the NHIF, where former members were enjoying, is no longer there. Madam Speaker, from where I sit, the honorable member is a sympathizer of Kenya Kwanza government. Is she trying to insinuate that SHA is not working or SHIF is not working? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Elachi.
Honorable Makalu, you are a commissioner, a bigger sympathizer of government because you are a commissioner of this house under the government. And this arm is an arm of government. So there's no member of parliament who is a sympathizer of another arm of government. You should understand that. But having said that, Madam Speaker, I think what Commissioner didn't understand, I think I need to rephrase it. After our colleagues and most of us left, they formed a group. They went to NHIF. They negotiated for a package of health for families, very privately, but all of them are former members of parliament. And therefore, even if SHA is there, which it is there is a process they will have to go through for them to come back to have the same package they used to have. And that's why I'm saying it is important, if indeed we had this 13 years ago, Madam Speaker, then they would not have gone through all that to create a package for members who are colleagues, who are former, to get health cover. So what am I saying? That now this will assist every member of parliament that is here. That first of all, you'll get your pension, yes. But I'll tell you the most important pension you need is health, Madam Speaker. Because we have seen, we are in a job where, Madam Speaker, everyone hates us. Sometimes I look at the young people here and you feel, because you know, Madam Speaker, you've come here, this is your 3rd term. And I'll tell you, if our young members of parliament do not get pensions, and especially for health, even just getting employment is so difficult. And you know, in Parliament, we've been very, very, I would say, very kind to ourselves, or very harsh to ourselves, Madam Speaker, that we create jobs for everyone, and we forget, and even we put a clause that says, if you have ever been a member of Parliament, you cannot get that job. So now, Madam Speaker, our youths who have now come, what happens after they leave? I heard the majority leader in the morning giving an example of Toto. And you imagine, now she has started a family. What happens after? So this is one scheme I would tell the Commission, you are doing it, and we want to congratulate you and to thank you for thinking that. But I want us to go further and push through to ensure the health one works even before this. It is critical for those who will be leaving this house, because as Madam Speaker, you said, indeed people say you are coming. It is up to God to know whether you are coming. It will be a very, very small margin and very few people coming back. So as we continue even contributing, Madam Speaker, the other thing we must look at is our staff. I know they have their own health cover, but it's important to also look. It is very wrong also for staff to be in Parliamentary Service Commission, but still find themselves also with other challenges. So if indeed we are an arm of government like any other, you find that the judiciary, Madam Speaker, they take care of themselves. The executive, the CS, they take good care of themselves. We have reached a point in this 13th Parliament, Madam Speaker, I will tell you, we have refused to take care of ourselves. We have refused to appreciate we are also in a job group that you went out there and looked at. Yes, it is politics, but it's a job also you are doing for now, for 5 years, and then they will evaluate you and see whether you are coming back. Can we start taking care of ourselves from our food, from our catering? Can we have a wellness place of eating food that is of wellness, Madam Speaker, so that we stop these diseases that we are finding ourselves, diabetes, pressure, and all, just because we have refused to check the catering. Let us be honest and take care of ourselves. With those few remarks, I beg to support.
Member for Saku, Honorable Raso.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support this groundbreaking bill. Yesterday, the minority leader raised something also very important about the members of Parliament, those who sit in this House and those who sit in the Senate. Honorable Speaker, the bill about pension is about the welfare of members, those who are here, those who have preceded us, and those who are likely to succeed us. Honorable Speaker, being a member of Parliament is considered a prime job. You become unemployable immediately after you lose the seat. Or even if you don't lose the seat and you move away, you actually become unemployable. You are considered to be very wealthy. You are considered to have been on high salaries. That in Kenyan parlance, you call it super scale. So for that reason, you are not an ordinary citizen. And that is where all members who pass through this House must understand whether you are a fresh man or woman, or whether you are a 3-term or a 4-term member. Madam Speaker, pension or pensioners, as you retire or you lose a seat,
But you see, it should be automatic.
your income is reduced. Your friends also are reduced. When we are in this House, we have very many friends that your phone is jammed. But as soon as you lose the seat, actually nobody bothers to even greet you on the street, because people know that maybe you have a bank loan, you want to ask for assistance. Even lawyers, as you approach them, because your mortgage has run out, you want the firm of lawyers that normally call you, if you approach them, they are very reluctant to even take your call, let alone assisting you pro bono, because you used to sit in this house. Madam Speaker, they say health is wealth. I think the 4 bills that we have passed in this house about the universal health care, the SHA and the SHE. One thing we as a house, we must stand on our feet to make sure that Kenya has a good health system. A good health system that will not just serve this generation, but for posterity. Today, what is making the life of Kenyans as we go around, it's not really food. People will complain about a lot of things. But the most expensive thing is healthcare. When we sit in this house, I'm sure when you scroll through your phone, the message that you are likely to get is about death in a hospital or a death on a hospital bed. And that is how important or significant it is. No one will raise funds for a former member of parliament. That is what we must understand. And that is why this bill is really important. Finally, and most importantly, Madam Speaker, is housing of the pension scheme under the Parliamentary Service Commission. They say east-west home is best. The members who leave this house, their best house of call, or the first house of call, will be the Parliamentary Service Commission if they are really in trouble and they need help from Parliament or from their colleagues. So for that reason,
Very well said. Member for Moyale. Are you on this one? No. Honorable Sigei.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also contribute to this very important amendment bill. Madam Speaker, on the onset, I would like to thank the sponsor of this bill, Dr. Makali Muli, and those who started earlier to move in this direction. Madam Speaker, I want to support particularly the alignment of this bill to the Constitution, because for a long time, the Act has been obsolete almost. And Madam Speaker, this is high time. I call this bill, Madam Speaker, a bill of life and death. It's a serious bill, Madam Speaker. When you look at the former MPs who come to our area, you look at the way they are, those who are at home, Madam Speaker, you sympathize. And this is the reason why we support this motion. I want to also support the suggestion that this bill, the insurance should be domiciled in the Parliamentary Service Commission. Madam Speaker, I want to support this motion. One of the areas which we have a problem is mainly medical cover. And Madam Speaker, I've had an experience because at one time I also retired, and we had a very difficult time, but we had NHIF to support us. Mr. Speaker, I know if we can have SHARE as a new medical cover, it will support this nation. Madam Speaker, I want to end by saying, while we are supporting ourselves as members of parliament, I need to bring in the issue of national treasury. Many a times, Madam Speaker, we have a problem of supporting our teachers. The cases we have now, Madam Speaker, is the delay in processing the pensions of our teachers. I have about 20 cases. Teachers come to Nairobi here, Madam Speaker, to follow their pension. And it takes eternity for these people to get their pension. We would like also to appeal to National Treasury to reform the way they are processing the pensions for our teachers. They are suffering. And most of them are dying because they cannot get their pension. So, Madam Speaker, I want to support this motion and urge this House to really move in and support. And I want to also emphasize that we are paying for this pension as members of parliament. And nobody out there, because I think we should also ask our people to change their minds out there, the attitude they have for this House. They take members of parliament as enemies. They always talk negatively about members of parliament. We would like our people to change. We are making this country a country to live in, and we are very happy, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, that we are moving this direction, and I want to support this motion. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Kinangop.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to give my contribution to this very important bill by my colleague MP for Kitui Central. And Madam Speaker, from the word go, I want to support the same for one simple reason, that one, we are 14 years late to aligning this act with the realities that are in our constitution. And Madam Speaker, you realize that when it comes to matters to do with Parliament, it becomes very difficult for us to actually debate or even legislate, because we are perceived by the public out there as if we are legislating for our own and to benefit ourselves. And it's a cardinal rule, Madam Speaker, even as you serve food at home, being a mother like you are, Madam Speaker, you do not serve everybody else and not serve yourself, so that then that you're not perceived to be selfish. And I think it is right for this Parliament to just act right. Despite the noise, people will always make noise whether we do the right thing, whether whatever it is that we do, there shall be some level of resistance from the voters, and because we run offices that are very competitive. Madam Speaker, I have taken keen interest just to look at how other arms of government deal with themselves. And I can tell you for sure, one of the arms of the government that we sit in, that is the legislature, is completely bastardized and does not seem really to be seen. It is not perceived by the public out there as if there is anything good that can come out of this house. We have had members of parliament who have sacrificially served their constituents for many years in this house. But after they have left, they're living in desolate states. They cannot take care of themselves, because by the time you leave this house, three things will have happened. You'll have lost your wealth, you'll have lost your health, you'll have lost your friends. That being the case, Mr. Speaker, we must not lose ourselves. We may lose everything else, but never lose ourselves.
But unfortunately, due to the accident that he suffered in the course of that year, in the course of that time, he was not able to move this bill. But I want to thank the Honorable Makali for indeed doing a very important job for the members of Parliament. Madam Speaker, at the outset, I would like to make it very clear that this bill is not intended to add any benefits to the member of Parliament. And those who may want to write this story should read the memorandum and of the objects and reasons for this bill. The reason for this bill, Madam Speaker, is to align the Parliamentary Pension Act, Cap 186, with the new constitution. As you know, Madam Speaker, the Parliamentary Pension Act only makes reference to the National Assembly. It does not refer to the Senate. Yet we know right now, as we speak, we have a bicameral house. So the Honorable Makali Mulu is seeking to align this bill with the 2010 Constitution. Madam Speaker, I want to speak about two very important things with regard to this bill. One, this bill is very important because it sets out in clear terms what the pension scheme would entail. As we align it to the new constitution, we are seeking to remove those areas which causes discrimination and which runs afoul to Article 27(4) of the Constitution, which says no person should be discriminated on the basis of anything. Madam Speaker, as you know, the Parliamentary Service Commission, which is our employer, runs a pension scheme for members of staff, which is domiciled within the Parliamentary Service Commission. Now, with regard to members of Parliament, the other section, the other half of the employees is run in the executive arm of government. Madam Speaker, we must sort out that anomaly. And I would like to request the Honorable Makali Mulu to come up with an amendment to domicile the members of Parliament parliamentary scheme within the Parliamentary Service Commission, so that we do not need to go to the executive to sort out our matters. All our matters should be resolved in-house here. Madam Speaker, you can imagine when we returned, you know, Madam Speaker, I was retired in 2017. So when I was going to look for my gratuity, I was tossed from one floor to the other. I was told, go to floor number 7 in Treasury Building. Then I was told, no, not this one here. Go and look for somebody in floor number 12. So I go to floor number 12 and I was told, no, go to floor number 9. So, and you know, we are totally frustrated at that time. You've been thrown out, you are without money, and you're hoping that you can get something. Madam Speaker, if this scheme was domiciled in Parliament, in the Parliamentary Service Commission, I would just walk over to the offices, and we know it. Why should we be sent to a place where we have not worked? I'm not a member in the executive. The second thing that we must ensure that this bill provides is the question of the post-retirement medical scheme. Madam Speaker, we have very many schemes here. We have the mortgage scheme, we have the loan scheme, we have many schemes. Why don't we have this scheme, which is beneficial to members? And we are saying it's going to be contributory. We are not asking anyone to give us money. We just want a platform to be provided for us so that we can contribute this money. When we retire, we are able to enjoy medical facilities like we were doing before. And we know of many other institutions which do that, Madam Speaker. And finally, Madam Speaker, if you can give me just 1 minute with regard to this issue. Establishment of a pension scheme in this side to be done.
I'll give you 1 minute because you're a former commissioner.
Yes.
1 minute.
You know why I'm passionate about it being established within the Parliamentary Service Commission? When I was a CEO of CAK, at that time CCK, a very small institution with 130 members, we had our own pension scheme. And what we used to do is to invest money that was not immediately payable to those people who have retired in various interest-earning securities. Madam Speaker, as we speak, this money is paid to the consolidated fund. There is no investment. My money just remains the way it is. We want it to come to the Parliamentary Service Commission so that we can have enhanced pension scheme as a result of good policies of investing our monies in good, for instance, maybe treasury bills when it is earning more interest, so that we can get more, Madam Speaker. As it is, we continue to get very little because our money is tied in the consolidated. I want to thank you and I support.
Thank you. Honorable Sirma.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute. Madam Speaker, I have gone through these circles on pensions and being retired and coming back again. Madam Speaker, I want to pay tribute to Makalu Mulu for doing a good job. I also want to remember the first person who brought independence to this parliament. Madam Speaker, many of you do not know how much a member of parliament was as an individual in terms of, I have seen members whom I was here for 15 years, I went out for 10 years, and I have seen all. You can be happy when you are here, but once you are out, it is a problem. I also want to talk about the people who have made those members who are outside a bit comfortable. Dr. Njuguna, the former member of Gatanga, who created FOPA with other members. I also became a member, and I'm still a member, because everybody is either a former or current, or a prospective former member. So I want to tell you, it is time you made that decision now. And it is either you do it, or you wait and see the vagaries of this world, how they will treat you. Madam Speaker, Parliamentary Service Commission, we have people of integrity who will be able to stand there. And Madam Speaker, I wish one time I should serve under that, so that I am part of those people who have had the history of this house. And if we are able to get our money from ourselves and keep it and invest the way other pensions invest, even this government would not be going out of the country to borrow. They would be borrowing from the pension schemes within Kenya. And they run the government. I can assure you, it is time that Parliament stood up for itself, and members of Parliament look at themselves on the eye and say, it is our time. Because nobody has any interest with you after you leave the gates of this house. I decided not to come to this house, even to visit a friend. When I was out, I decided it is the people who have decided I'm not in Parliament. So I did not come for 10 years. But finally I am back. So I want to tell you, if you would be having such a principle like me, because I had no other business, the pension was out of Parliament. But if it is now in Parliament, I will be coming to look for my pension here if there is a problem. So I want to say, members of Parliament, think about yourself, think about those whom you leave behind, and look at those people who have retired. And I want to say, I hope, I have not read the whole bill, but Makalu, the former members of Parliament who are languishing in poverty should be taken care of, and even given a send-off, because they went with nothing. I saw a person who had 15 years here. He has nothing, even a car. Madam Speaker, I beg to support.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Makueni.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to also contribute to this very important bill. And I wish to thank the Member of Parliament for Kitui Central, Dr. Makali, for bringing this. I feel privileged because I've just come and it has just come. For the first time in this parliament, I'm very happy to talk about our welfare. Since I've been here for the last 2 years, I've never had anything or any point or any bill that was discussing our welfare. So I wish to thank Dr. Makali very much. And I actually appreciate, because the major thing here we are doing with this particular bill is sustainably manage our resources in a manner that it can take us to the next world. And I think that is a very wise idea. So I really sincerely congratulate him, and I hope we actually support this bill. I'm in particular very much impressed by the fact that we will need to move our pension to to be managed by the Parliamentary Service Commission. Because that way we can actually have our independence beyond this parliament, and it will actually ensure a smooth exit even when we are outside there and you actually need your pension. So I really want to applaud the member of parliament, and we really appreciate that. But this also brings us to another major question, which I think we can actually also discuss. I've had